You can tell a lot about your relationship and the role that you're playing in it by looking at the complaints that you have and also how the other person is reacting. Hey guys, this video is really important. I want you to look at it through to the end because it gives two sides to the same coin. Okay, so let's get started. Both people think that the other person is trying to get them upset. And if you're with a narcissist or covert narcissist, borderline, or one of those kind of fun disorders, yeah, that might be happening. But for the most part, it's just two people who are out of control and are trying to get some kind of control in the relationship in a positive way. But it ends up being really negative. So let's start, shall we? So let's start with, if you're the person who is trying constantly to make the relationship better, you're the one buying the books, maybe seeing a therapist, seeing a coach, looking at videos, you're the one that's doing quite a bit to try to help the relationship, kind of help that greater good, give yourself some sense of satisfaction and relief, and also try to get the other person to see the light. And you are frustrated and you're feeling like so over it. You might be feeling completely empty, completely frustrated. You might also be feeling very neglected and downright betrayed. And you know what? You probably are all of those things. You probably have been betrayed, because betrayal isn't just about cheating. Betrayal is also the other person saying they're going to do something, not following through. And once or twice, okay, it's a mistake. But when it's all the time, not only is it a habit and a pattern, but it's a downright behavior that they know that they're doing, because you probably have said to them, hey, this is a pattern. And if they're not doing anything to change it, then what they're doing is just lying to you over and over again. And you are, in every sense of the word, being betrayed. You're living with or in a relationship with somebody who is downright lying to you. You never know what you can trust, and you feel like they're always giving you just enough to keep the hope up, just so that you can fall on your face. It's sort of like Lucy and Charlie Brown when she's holding the football and he runs to kick the football and she's convincing him, go ahead, do it, and then she pulls the football away and he falls. And that's sort of what you're living every day. You can also tell a lot about this person's coping strategies and how they're behaving by looking at their family of origin. So if mom and dad were prone to lying or taking a back seat in the relationship, having no responsibility, they're probably going to do the same thing. So you gotta look at the tree where the apple fell, you know what I'm saying? But of course we can't vilify someone for just having irresponsible parents, and that person might have actually done quite a bit of work to be different than their parents. But after a while, if you're watching this video, you've given them enough chances. Your relationship might be on its 8th or 9th life, and you might be done with it. So what is happening with this other person? At some point, we have to stop blaming our parents, stop blaming society, stop blaming our struggles and our moods, and we just have to grow up. And on some level, this is what's happening in the relationship. They are actually not bringing to the table the same amount of maturity that you are. And you start to feel like you're not even in a relationship with a man, that you actually have a teenager that feels like he's being nagged. And you're getting nothing out of it because this teenager is actually never growing up. He was probably really fun when you met him, but we're going to get into that in a minute. The bottom line is what they're feeling is pressure. They might have a level of shame, and they're probably feeling really overwhelmed. So let's give them that, because again, because for whatever reason, they're navigating in this very immature space where they're not bringing to the table emotional maturity to be in a mature relationship that can grow or even be stable. But if you are that person that happens to be watching this video right now, understand that the pressure that you're feeling is actually coming from you, because you're choosing to be irresponsible, you're choosing to not follow through, you're choosing to lie and betray. So you're bringing it on yourself. So if you feel like a child who's being nagged, grow up. And I understand that you have been through a lot, and I understand that you may not know how to get that emotional maturity, and you might feel like I'm being a little harsh with you. But who's going to do it if it's not me? But I need to be upfront with you. I need to tell you like it is. Because for some of you, unlike some of your family or friends that might be patting you on the head and coddling you because you feel so overwhelmed, I'm not going to do that. Somebody has to be upfront with you. Why not let it be me? I actually do want you to be happy. And I'm sure that your partner has given you lots of different options and you don't like those options because they just feel uncomfortable. Maybe they asked you to read a book and you just really don't like reading, or it's not the kind of book that you would want to read, or you don't want to go to therapy because you don't feel like it does anything. And you sort of have every excuse to not actually better yourself. And I totally understand that these things might be very valid, But you have to get out of your comfort zone if you want to experience a more mature love. Because I'm telling you, every relationship that you have, if this one doesn't work out, every relationship that you have is going to end with someone leaving you because you are basically acting like a man-child. And that's not good for you, because that's not who you really are. Under all that stuff is a guy who is waiting to break out, step into the shoes, being the man he was. But you have to do a little work to get there. It's a lot like lifting weights. You go, you lift some weights, you have to have a rest day. That's when the muscles repair, but you're a bigger and better person after that. Doing a video or doing any intimacy work is kind of the same thing. It might be a little uncomfortable, but once you get through it, you're going to be a better person. Just take things in small increments, regardless of what your partner is telling you. Most women are really happy just seeing some progress, some effort, some sign that you care, not only about her, but about your relationship. Show her that she's a priority. Make your relationship a priority. Stop having this lazy attitude towards the person that you supposedly are saying that you love them. You also need to be truthful. Are you actually sabotaging the relationship because you feel like you don't deserve love? Or are you just overwhelmed? Are you actually afraid of losing her? If today was the last day that you were alive, would you want this person by your side? Would you want to tell this person that you love them? But if the answer is yes, then be respectful. If the answer is no, then get out of Dodge, be respectful, and let her move on and find someone that will love her the way that she deserves. But if the answer is yes, then grow up. And I know that sounds harsh. Now, ladies, for you, I know that you often will feel sorry for someone who had a bad upbringing and you just want to show them what love is, but it's not your job to do that. Of course, you want to build the other person up, but you're not their full-time 24/7, 365-day therapist. So I don't want you to take on this role of nurturing mother or therapist in your relationship. Even if you are a therapist and a nurturing mother, you've got to set the boundaries. And as a female who becomes trained by society to be more nurturing and to be more accepting of danger and red flags, we tend to look at these red flags and we want to move them out of the way so that we can get to love. But what we're forgetting is that the other person usually isn't asking us to get rid of those red flags. And we are putting that on ourselves. And those red flags start to add up. And then this dynamic starts to happen where we're already feeling frustrated and betrayed, neglected, and they're feeling overwhelmed, pressured, and shamed. And that dynamic becomes the new dynamic of the relationship. And pretty soon, both of you are pulling back more and more. And you actually get to a space where you're protecting yourself from the other person. You're basically living with an enemy. So what are some next steps to get out of that? So if you're the one that's feeling pressured, shamed, and overwhelmed, you feel like the other person is nagging, one really big advantageous next step is just to get accountable. You have to be self-accountable. When you say you're going to do something, do it. Start following through. Be the man that she can look at and she can say, I trust him. I can count on him. He's there for me. He's there for us. He's there for our family. We're a priority. Another thing that you can do is just get real. You are struggling. You're not in this situation because you're doing everything right. And lastly, and this is the most important thing, show respect to the other person. Now for my beautiful, elegant, worthy ladies. I know you're feeling probably at the bottom right now, and I know that you are really struggling in your own way, and that for you, you're keeping on a more strong face for the world. And you might be overeating, and you might have high blood pressure, and you might have a lot of different things going on, but I'm telling you right now, there are things that you can do. I've dealt with some of this myself, and I've worked with so many women, and I know that these things work, okay? So some next steps are, believe it or not, and this is going to be the hardest one for you, is stop taking responsibility. If a big part of the problem is that he's not being responsible, if he's not being accountable to the relationship, you don't have to make up for him. You can just stop taking all the responsibility of the relationship. Now, what that's going to do is it's either going to force him to be more responsible, or you're going to see that you should just not be in this relationship. But you can't sacrifice your time and energy and spirit just for this other person. There's no reason to do that. You can love him. You can love him from a distance, though. You don't have to be his mother. You don't have to be his employer. You don't have to be his therapist. You can be an equal in the relationship. And the way for you to get more respect is for you to pull back a little bit. And I know it's going to feel horrible. And I know that you're probably thinking right now, if I pull back, this relationship is done. And you probably are doing a lot and being overly responsible because you're hanging on with white knuckles to this relationship. But trust me when I say the world is not going to fall apart, and probably not even the relationship if you pull back. It will be less intimate and you're going to feel less focus of the relationship, but that's okay, because the next step is I want you to protect your heart more. And what I mean by that is your physical heart. So I want you to focus on your wellness and your health, but I also want you to focus on your emotional heart. So by pulling back some of that responsibility, it actually gives you more energy and time, and I want you to spend it on you. I want you to do things that encourage and nourish your spirit and your body. I want you to live for yourself. So if you want love in your life, you have to start by focusing on loving yourself enough to want to be healthy and happy, and not focusing so much on this other person. Then we're in a different type of relationship, right? It's not imbalanced anymore. He's not just sitting there able to be totally irresponsible because he knows you're going to pick up the slack. Just don't pick up the slack and focus on yourself. That is a more balanced relationship. And he can either step up and find his happiness and find his respect for himself and for you, or you leave him in the dust. Okay, so I have another video for you that I think you're going to absolutely love. I'll see you there.